Alrighty, welcome to episode 197 of Tokwa's Ask Us Anything. As usual, it's been a pretty busy news week. Tesla has improved the service functionality of its phone app by adding selectable areas of concern. This enables the simple graphical selection of potential service items rather than having to describe them using text or photos. Tesla has introduced a service history feature whereby certain routine service procedures can be recorded in the car by non-Tesla technicians and owners via Tesla's service mode in the car's main touchscreen. And that was this week's news. Indeed, it was. And obviously, there was a whole lot of other political news over the last couple of weeks, but we're just going to park that for now. Alrighty,
Oh,
as is
you don't want to talk about
customary,
how?
I really, I'd love to, but we're not doing a
No,
24 hours talk
that's
around the
insane.
clock.
Yep.
Not this episode.
Sorry.
As is customary, if there is anyone who is new, please do unmute yourself and say hello. Or perhaps a little bit later on. Alrighty. So into the discussion. Now, by the way, that service feature is great. I did try it. Please be careful. I did try to put in a cabin air filter replacement, and I tried to backdate it to when I did it a few weeks ago and put in my odometer, and the car rejected it. So then I sort of hurriedly just went, oh well, don't worry about the odometer and press go. And now my car has a permanent record of it having a front camera cleaning session or something. So if you do play with it, please be careful. But it is a useful thing for yourself or even other technicians or repairers to put in some standard service items into your car as a record for you and anyone else that buys it in the future. And obviously the fact that you can now, if you go into the service section of your app, you can actually highlight. So, for example, if you go into the glass section, rather than having to describe which window it is that you want replacing or whatever, you can literally graphically and optically look and indicate which pane of glass or body panel or whatever it is you have a concern about. So that's a great innovation from Tesla. Alrighty, would someone like to kick off discussions, whether it's a comment or a question?
With that question on that topic, the service, I noticed there's a place to put tire replacement or tire rotations in. Is that in there as well? I saw it somewhere, but I can't find it again.
Yes, it is. Yes. And yeah, I was actually going to do that, but I'd forgotten which date it was. But yes, no, you're dead right, James.
And you can backdate it because I didn't do it at
Yes,
the time. Right.
yes, you can. And there is an option to put in an odometer reading. And like I said, when I tried that, it, I think, I don't know whether it was that it rejected. So then what happened is when I then sort of just said, oh, well, don't worry about the odometer, what it then kind of wrongly did was it said that back in October this year, my car had done 146,000 kilometers, and that wasn't quite true then. It had done significantly less. But yeah, so but it's obviously useful to do as you go. So maybe
Yeah.
not don't sort of go back and try and fix the record. Just do anything from now on. But tires, I mean, I guess the thing is tires already have a counter. So that's actually something else you should do is when you rotate tires or change tires, you should reset the counter. And that's in the service section, not in service mode, but under the service tab of your main screen. So that way it'll keep a live counter of the number of kilometers traveled since having done that procedure. And it will also recalibrate the tread thickness tread wear so that you can get a warning if you've got excessive tread wear on a tire or an end of the car, whether it's a front or rear end. Alrighty. We've got any
What
other
about
questions?
fitting your camper kit? Can you enter that?
Um, Disappointingly so, that is not currently a standardized corrective procedure that Tesla contemplates or offers. And thanks for scratching that itch. Or actually, I think it was probably putting salt in that wound. Although my car has got a camber kit at my own expense, and yeah, it's working very well.
Good. Well, that was the segue. How's it going?
Actually, to be honest, I've got a feeling that the camber on the left-hand side isn't as good as the camber on the right. It sort of optically looks like it's sort of poking out a little bit, but I haven't actually been bothered because I've been super lazy to have a proper look at the treadwear. But I certainly will do that soon.
Can you take it back to the place to get them to test it? Would
Yeah,
that be a warranty or
I guess
service item?
I could, yes, because yeah, like I said, it optically looks a little bit out. But anyway. Actually, now since Chuck is joining us from the future, and it is rather late for him right now, and we all need our beauty sleep. Chuck, do you have anything to report from your awesome end of the country?
Well, actually, I was just looking for something that I saw on Facebook, and it's actually not from. Hang on, just have to find it again. It's actually not from my end of the country, but it was posted on the Tokwa Facebook group. Um,
Oh,
it was a comment about someone who was planning to cross the Nullarbor over Christmas, New Year,
Yes.
and he emailed Horizon and got a response back saying that the
oh,
WAV network charges would be in before the end of the year. Now that sounds pretty ambitious,
excuse me.
but I thought it might be worth discussing anyway.
Yes, indeed. Um,
Sounds like you know you know some history here, and you think it's
does
the best
anyone
way to
else want
say it.
to?
I've just
I
put a
could-
screen capture into the chat.
Oh yeah, thanks. Let's do that because
Yeah.
I'm going to have to play a very, very straight bat on this one. So,
was
I may have an
gonna
update
say-
for you too, Harold.
I was going to
So-
say I was in a meeting this week with Horizon. They
okay,
did say
well,
that
on the basis that that meeting was not confidential, what can you say about it, Paul?
mm,
Oh,
actually no.
nothing. Right. Okay. Very good.
I just realized no.
So, with all
I've been
due
in a
respect,
few.
you'll be
Yeah.
keeping your mouth absolutely closed and
Yeah,
not
yeah,
reacting
exactly.
to anything. Let's
I'll
bring
act
up
surprised.
the actual screen. So it says that the EV chargers are on track for completion at the end of the calendar year or shortly thereafter. And that is the official line from Horizon Power. So, quote, that those EV chargers, and that was with reference to the Nullarbor, those EV chargers are on track for completion. Shane, would you like to, given that you've not signed NDAs of anyone, would you
I
like
haven't
to discuss?
NDA. It wasn't presented to me as being confidential, so I assume I'm okay to say. Without giving any specifics, I believe there will be a charger installed at Kaiguna because the current Kaiguna one's not functioning. That one is coming back to Perth to get serviced and repaired. They're in that process, and another charger will go out to Kaiguna and be deposited on what will become the Horizon Power site. So new one will go out, get deposited there. The existing one will get picked up and brought back for a service. And another one will get dropped off at Balladonia, I believe, also on the Horizon Power site. The Kaiguna one, I believe, is going to happen in the next week or two. Well, more specifically this weekend. The Balladonia one, I'm not sure. I'm assuming that's later. And the one that's currently at Kaiguna, I think is planned to go to either Majura or Cocklebiddy. I think Cocklebiddy. No, not Cocklebiddy. Mundrabilla. The one.
So sorry, so what are these charges?
They are biofuel charges.
Oh, okay. So it's not planned to be the solar
It's not the
panels
permanent.
or
It's not the permanent installation. It's a temporary installation that's going in on the Horizon Power site.
right. Okay. So I guess if we go back to this email, I guess we'll just have that's the story. So according to Horizon Power, the charges are on track for completion at the end of the calendar year. So I guess from what you're saying, Shane, the presumption is that that completion is basically these temporary charges as you've just described them.
I don't know that.
Okay, cool.
The other bit of news I heard is that Horizon Power are under significant pressure to get the permanent sites installed by the end of the year. And so I believe these ones are temporary to help things along. Yeah.
So I guess-
I may add that I contacted my local member to complain about the lack of rollouts, as we talked about a month or so ago. Her response was that as of the 5th of November, they expect them all to be operational by the end of the calendar year, which is consistent with Horizon's talk. I think she made some actual errors in saying where the rollout status was for some of the other ones, but that's the official line from the local member when I queried about the delays in the rollout of the WEB network.
Yeah, and I would say, actually, Harold, maybe check your phone. But having just driven across it with Harold, I didn't see any civil works happening on any of the sites. So
Yeah,
they're
so
gonna have
Shane,
to-
I did know that what you just texted me. Yeah, yep.
Yeah, I haven't seen any civil works on any of those sites, so they're going to have to get their skates on if they're going to be doing anything soon.
And Richard, I'm going to get to you in 2 seconds, but sorry, it was Steve that said that the local member said that all the sites would be operational. This is a site that concerns me, and that is Halls Creek. Because the last person to put a check in on the 14th of October highlighted the fact that it was over 11 weeks ago that it was vandalized, and now that's another 4 weeks later, and that's probably 15 weeks for the Halls Creek site. That is still actually that's an old photo. Now that screen is completely it's been smashed inside the actual open cavity of that Kempower unit, which until I put some cloth tape over it.
Who vandalised it, Harold?
Some of the locals, Domo, local residents. It is presumed, or someone, people unknown, and it's been sort of vandalized successively. So initially it was just the screen was just smashed, and now it's completely smashed in. And well, I don't know what it looks like today, but yeah, I put some cloth tape over the hole to stop birds and other things from nesting inside it. But it's a concern. I guess, I guess it depends what you call completed. Let's just hope that by the end of the year or shortly thereafter, as the email says, you will be able to drive throughout the entirety of Western Australia on the WAEV network, whose hashtag is WAEV network. Let's hope that the hashtag WAEV not work doesn't start trending. And if we look at, PlugShare at the moment, Billabong is not working yet, still. Overlander is not working properly. Manila is not working at all. etc.
This
So I guess
vandalism bothers me big time, and I've said it from the start.
yes, indeed, and it's a real point of vulnerability. WA is not the only state to have vandalism. At Cooper Pedy, I saw a Kempower with the screen smashed in or actually missing. Thankfully, it was still working. The NRMA have had issues in regional New South Wales. Some of their their screens have been smashed. So yeah, it's a bit of a problem. And let's hope that the government commits some funds for the WAV network for repairs and maintenance, and has a lightning squad that can come out and react quickly. Because the only thing worse than no fast DC charger at all is if you get to one where it's not working, because that's quite devastating. Because a 20-minute charge, if you can't do that on a fast DC charger and all you've got's a 10 amp power outlet, those 20 minutes will turn into 20 hours, and that'll change the whole configuration of your trip. Richard, you've got your hand up very patiently.
Hi, folks. I've had to fly across from Melbourne to visit my ailing father. I had to leave my beloved Model Y in Melbourne, and I'm looking to fly back to Melbourne to drive across to Perth
Yes.
in the next week. So this is quite relevant commentary I'm hearing, particularly the Kaiguna site. I was relying on having the biofill charger there to give me some boost along the way. So
Richard, when are you leaving? What kind of Y is it? What long range or
standard range?
Standard range? Yep.
Just rear-wheel drive.
And when are you leaving?
Yep. So I've done the trip many times in the past.
Oh, in a Y or in an ordinary car? Oh, I can't hear you, Richard.
I'll have to move into a better Wi-Fi zone. Hang on. You there?
Yes, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I'm a bit far
So
away from
have you driven
the
across
router.
Nullarbor in an EV before, Richard?
About 6 times. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you're an old hat.
Yeah,
So
right.
so you
Yeah,
got no
yeah.
issues. Oh, okay. Well then.
I resemble that comment.
Oh, sorry.
Um,
Of course, Richard. Now I understand. Now I know who you are now. Sorry. You're that
Okay, cool.
Richard Dodd. Sorry. My
No,
apologies.
this
No.
is Richard Ainscough. I live in
Oh,
Melbourne,
sorry.
and
Yes.
we've
I've come across
discussed
many
this
times
before.
to visit my father.
Yep.
But I've had to fly across as an
Okay.
emergency.
Yep.
The other,
So
the
then
other
don't
day.
worry
I'm
about
in Perth at the moment.
Okay, so don't worry about Kaiguna. You don't need it. So you can go from Cocklebiddy straight to Baladonia. You don't need Kaiguna at all. Just fill fully at Cocklebiddy.
Actually, I would say fill fully at Madura and then top up at Cocklebiddy.
Oh, sorry. Well, doesn't make any
You
difference.
might even make
Shame.
Madura. Sorry?
It doesn't make any difference because they're both 11 kilowatt charging. They're both just
no,
three phase.
No, Madura's 20 kilowatts.
Oh, sorry, Majura. Okay, yes. Yep. Yeah, so Richard, you've got limitless EV driving skills. So yeah, just I've actually skipped Kaiguna many times for various reasons, mostly because it's been unreliable, or it's been closed when I was traversing across because I was there too early or too late or too bad or something. So just
I would-
ignore Kaiguna and just don't factor it into your planning. When are you actually leaving Melbourne?
I'll be leaving Ballarat, in fact, on Sunday morning, the 17th.
Oh, you'll be fine because
Madura should be
Shane,
working by
you
then.
were saying that that's going to be sorted anyway.
It should be working by this weekend if all goes according to plan. But plans are mice and men, but it should be
Yeah.
it should be all go again by Sunday, Monday.
Okay, cool. Okay, supplementary question. as a plan B, because I might have to actually abandon the plans of driving across and fly instead, depending on what happens with my dad. Does anyone know of any good car transport companies that I could tap into if I have to put my Model Y on a transport from Melbourne to Perth?
No, just Google it. Just Google car transport,
Yeah,
Melbourne to
I
Perth.
have. Yeah,
I'm
I have,
sure.
and the ones that come up are reasonably expensive, and it's depot to depot. There is an option for picking up the car, but the logistics of me getting a card key to them, and having the car not packed with all its cables and all that sort of stuff, and then having to get the cables across is just a little bit tricky. I was hoping if there's a good one that someone could recommend, I'll tap into them and see if I can work something out. So
There are two options. One of them is I'm sure Harold would fly across and drive it for you. He's got
You
nothing
took
better
the
to do.
words right out of my mouth.
But the more serious answer is if you leave the car there, you can remote start it and let someone drive it.
Yes, I've done that before, and
Yep,
that works
yep.
fine for just short journeys. But if it's a car carrier, they have to first of all get into my garage, and I can arrange for someone to get in there.
Yeah.
Then I have to remote start it and hope that they get to the destination during that. I think there's a window where the remote start expires. So if they
Yeah,
happen to
yep.
stop somewhere, then they'd have to get on the blower to me and say, "Can you bloody start the car again?" Yeah.
Yeah,
So
no, that makes sense. Yeah.
yeah, that's a very remote fallback, but probably not reliable.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
I guess the decision you need to make, Richard, is can you afford the 3 days with your father in the
And that's
predicament
the
he's
trick.
in?
I
And
just don't know at the moment. Yeah.
yeah, so I mean, I guess the obvious answer to that is if you don't know, then don't risk
Don't
it,
go.
and
Yep.
don't go unless things get better or worse. If you know what I
Yeah.
mean.
And
So
so yeah, I've booked a flight, but I'm now, I've now got remorse over that. And I'm
it,
thinking maybe if I got a plan B, that would probably work into my.
this is something out of left field. You can also, for example, if you're missing driving a Tesla around Perth, so you're in Perth at the moment, aren't you?
Yep.
Yeah. So if you miss driving a Tesla around Perth, you can hire them from lots of different platforms and stuff. So at
Yeah.
pretty reasonable rates. Obviously, so that's another interim solution is
Mm.
just source a car locally for the time being where you just don't know how much time you can afford to be away from
Mm.
Perth. So,
Mm.
for the next little while. So that's another alternative.
Yeah, I've even contemplated buying a one of inventory or a second-hand one or something just to tide me over. But then I've got the interesting thing of either paying stamp duty, shipping back to driving back to Melbourne and then paying stamp duty there, or selling it locally and wearing the cost of the drop in price.
Look, hiring is so much cheaper. Pete, if
Just hire
you're in
pizza
the
in.
room, how much are churros going these days? Daily basis?
Roughly about $100 a day for most Teslas, between 100 and sort of 130. But once you start approaching Christmas, the prices do go up quite a bit.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. Yeah. No, okay. Thanks. I thought I'd just try it out. I didn't know if anyone had any direct experience with it, but I thought it was worth a go.
Yeah, no worries. And
Thanks
yeah,
very
sorry
much.
about your predicament too. None of that's ever good.
Thank
But
you.
Harold, haven't you been known to actually put a car on a trailer and then drive that around the Kojun up?
it wasn't quite as heavy as a Model Y.
Yeah, you'd never get it.
And to be honest, I'm over carrying things on trailers or dragging trailers for that matter. I've kind of done my bit, and I'm happy to leave that to others.
I'm
in
just
future.
looking around the room here, and I see Chuck. and he hasn't. About time Chuck come to visit over WA, don't you think?
Been a year.
He
Been
has
too
got-
He's a
long.
lot-
Yes.
He's starting from a lot closer.
You think it's my turn again, is it?
Yeah. You could drive a Y across the Nullarbor.
Oh, give me some time off work, and could I do it in 7 days? Maybe. Oh, maybe, yeah. Drive across and then fly back. Yeah.
I reckon you could pull that off.
Actually, there's a certain Richard Laxton that owes someone a Glen George trophy. So perhaps he could grab the trophy and put it in that car and drive it over, and then he can fly back. Anyway,
Maybe you could walk back.
yes.
Ooh.
Never mind. Awesome. Alrighty. Yeah, on that sort of sadder note, let's hope that all ends up well. All right. Any other questions or comments?
Well, if no one else has got any comments, I'd love to hear about from James, Shane, and Harold.
Mike's got his hand up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Pete, just park that for 2 seconds. Mike, you got your hand up.
Just a quickie. First a comment. Hey, thanks, Harold, for posting like you do on X on your trips. I know I stumbled across you on X because I read X for my rocket fix and see what SpaceX are up to. And I stumbled across you and I was watching your trip across the Nullarbor and say where you gone. So thanks very much for that. I enjoyed that. Hey, a quick question. Horror. I hit a curb today in blasted Carrinup shopping centre. It doesn't have proper turning circles. Wait till I get hold of those engineers, I tell you. Anyway, am I correct in saying that for a 2022 Model 3 with, I think, the sport wheel with the flatter edges, it's Sonic Silver is the touch-up paint? Is that correct? Do you guys know?
No,
Because there's one Starlight Silver and there's one Sonic Silver, and I can't determine which seems to be the correct one.
there is a touch-up paint place website which we haven't actually shown or discussed for months. Can anyone remember what it is off the top of?
In Perth, you're talking about, I take it?
No, it's online. We can get
Online,
touch-up
okay.
paint.
Is it colour and
Colour and Drive, is it, or something?
Colour and Drive? Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, my impression is it's Sonic Silver, but they're talking about Starlight, and hence I've come to you, right? Because I've got two different, depending on which site you go to, you get two different results.
Right. So I'm just doing it. This is always risky.
No biggie if you don't know off the top of your head, no biggie.
Yeah. If just trying to do it live. So if we look at Tesla Model 3 2022.
See, they only show the bodies and not the wheels. That's the problem with a lot of these sites.
True too. Yeah, sorry. No, that site's useless. Yep. Why not?
So anyway, if you don't know off the top of it, all good. It was just a quick question.
Why not go Tesla? Go to the service center. Go to
I only did it this afternoon, and I realised you were on. I thought you might know. So
no, sorry, we don't know. But look, the quickest. Tesla probably won't really thank us for saying this, but the quickest would be just to nip into O'Connor or Aussie Park.
Aussie Park's near me, yeah.
And at the counter, just say, "Hey, I've got this car. I'm looking for touch-up paint." You could ask if they sell it. I don't know that they do or don't sell it per se, but that might be the quickest way to get a color from one of the service guys.
Alternatively, just give them a call.
It's near me, and I'm always up and down Scabby Road anyway. So yeah, I'll just pop in one day. It's just it's the only ding. The wheels were perfect, even though it was a pre-loved one. It just annoys me. Like,
you ask the wrong people because we're such great drivers. No one's ever hit a curb here.
Yeah,
that's
especially
right.
all those 4 foot tall ones in Carrinup.
Yes,
which is quite ridiculous. Very ridiculous.
That are 90 degrees where you got to go around that corner. You can't get up. Know it well.
As an aside, I tried the assisted parking for the first time between two cars today, and it worked like a charm. It was excellent.
Wow. Was that parallel parking or was that reverse parking?
Reverse.
Cool.
Because I
Okay.
kept noticing, I didn't know it was actually on, and I kept noticing it flick up and disappear, but probably because I touched the brakes, as you do when you come to park, and it just disappears because it knows. And so this, I think, yeah, I indicated and stopped, and it went, and it popped up, and I went, cool, let's give it a go. And it worked. It was really good. I mean, it didn't take too long either. I still haven't got the,
Oh,
what do you call it? The changing lanes automatically on the freeway. Right, yeah, Harold. I put in all the settings. It just won't change lane for some reason.
Yeah, navigator and
Here we
autopilot.
go. Paul is.
it's back.
Sonic-
I know it's back to front.
That
It's-
Sonic Carbon is for the dark wheel. So these are the light coloured wheels on the sport wheel, the 19-inch sport wheels
Oh,
on
yep,
the
yep,
2022.
yep,
So I
yep.
think it's Sonic Silver is the majority, but I've seen this
Okay.
silver, midnight silver, or whatever it's called, starlight silver, and some people have been saying that as well. So I'll go into Tesla. It's all good.
Oh, no worries.
So thanks, guys.
Alrighty. So sorry, Pete, you were saying. Oh, you're asking James and Shane about the trip.
Yeah.
Okay, James and Shane, go.
What do you want to know, Pete?
Well, everything.
This one's
Oh,
James. So James, you want
Yeah.
to talk?
We tried to do the Madura to Baladonia in one hop, and we chickened out because it got down to 3% as we were passing Cocklebiddy. So we called into Cocklebiddy and got a top up. But I think the surprising thing to look at is the cost column there. So we didn't care. We didn't think. We didn't pre-plan. We just charged when we had a charge. But it did, let's say, sour the taste when you pay $87 in Madura and $88 in Baladonia to charge your car.
Yep.
Yeah, I pointed out to the guy at Madura that he is now the most expensive charge site in Australia, along with Baladonia.
Yeah. And look, I'm writing a piece to put on the Facebook, but I don't want to bag because they are an essential service in the middle of nowhere, and they were trying to run businesses. But how should I say? I was interested to see, and Chuck, no shade on you guys, but when I bought my ticket across to the Tasmania, there was a $500 federal subsidy where the federal government gave me $500 to the company to subsidise my trip across the Tasman. I was just wondering if a government was just Did
you go
across
did
the
you,
Nullarbor? Sorry, across
Did you go
the
Dillon?
Bass
Bass
Strait.
Strait.
Yeah, went the wrong way.
That's
Sorry.
the one.
No, it's a fair go. I mean, that's essential for you guys. But can you imagine the difference if every tourist that crossed the Nullarbor got a $500 credit that was given to the businesses along the way, or maybe that was summed up and they got solar arrays in each of those locations? Because look, they're doing themselves no favors. I try to do the right thing and just stop there and be a local business support. But as soon as those fast chargers go in, I'll be sitting in my car watching Netflix and eating cold drinks out of my fridge, because just like the grey nomads do, they'll fill up their jerry cans in Norseman or Sejuna and drive right past.
Now you're speaking of funding solar panels and things.
Yep.
This is a bit of an aside, although it's in the same area.
Oh, the massive 3,000 wind turbines. Yeah,
One
amazing.
day,
Yeah.
there might be something like this, which is there's Cocklebiddy on the left and Eucla on the right. And there are 35, these little rectangles are solar arrays, and all the dots are one of 3,000 wind turbines. The total energy that will be produced, so total power that will be produced when the system is finished in 30 years' time after stage 7 or whatever it is 70 gigawatts, where it'll provide 70 gigawatts of power which is equivalent to all of Australia's power needs in a land area that's not very big. And in fact, if you sum up all these little rectangles and you put them all together, that land area is tiny. It really is. It's only a few dozens of square kilometers.
I think it was 1% of the total area that'll have to be temporarily cleared, and there's only temporary clear in the whole thing.
Yeah,
1.3%, yeah. But most of that's just for access and just for building, and then it'll be revegetated.
But sadly, it's not intended to produce electricity per se. It's primarily intended to produce green hydrogen and ammonia. So
Ammonia is good. Ammonia we need for the farms. That would make independence of, but yeah, let's hope they build it, and then there's no need for the hydrogen.
well, the ammonia is also as a second fuel for diesel engines.
Oh,
So you
okay.
could have dual fuel for shipping.
Yep.
So in fact, actually, Chuck is, oh no, that's not right. Is the Spirit of Tas 3 and 4 or whatever they're called, they're dual fuel, but is it LNG that they're
Yeah.
using?
Yeah, it's LNG for those ones. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay. No
Well,
worries.
Harold, why are you saying sadly? I think anything in that regard is great news. Like, look, obviously, whatever needs to be electrified should be electrified, 100% there. But I mean, also looking at other countries that have to look at stuff, have heavy industry. There are some stuff that is just, there's no way around it. And like, I heard a really interesting podcast about Germany, and they're talking about obviously hydrogen needs as well. And realistically, they're saying like the self-production that they need for the industry that currently there's no alternative is sort of between 30 to 50%. So there will have to be some import, possibly from our European neighbors, but possibly also from Australia or other places, Canada, at least they're talking about it. Look, anything that moves the needle, I'm just excited. I'm just excited. And I'm really excited about that the economy is most likely gonna work out because of the drop in price for solar panels anyways, and also now batteries look like they are dropping year over year 15%. It's just gonna put everything else to shame.
Yeah, and Christian, I agree. Like, if it means, because the first thing they're going to have to do is an east-west interconnector to make the whole thing work. So that's a bonus for everybody. And hopefully, if the green hydrogen is not needed, the power is still going to be used.
Yeah, that's not
Yeah.
something that's planned at the moment. They sort of do imply that it could be used for some power production as well, but in the proponents aren't actually proposing a corridor for a DC interconnect at this stage.
Right. Yeah.
But I mean, having said that, I guess by default you are going to have an interconnection between Eucla and Cocklebiddy,
Yeah.
and that is some of the distance. Clearly, it's not all the distance, but that's, and you haven't got anything in South Australia because there's literally nothing to the east of the border as far as power infrastructure for 1,000 k's.
Yeah.
But
did I get it right? Like at the earliest, they are talking about the financing and starting is 2029, right? So this is still quite a bit out.
That's right. So for any of us that dream about having, because it's only between 15 at Cocklebiddy, Majura Pass, Mundrabilla. Well, Eucla's already got the power there. Well, it will have power. Those distances are only between 15 and 30 kilometres to the nearest wind turbine, so therefore to the nearest point of AC connection. So, for those of us that dream of having, superchargers across the Nullarbor, that will unfortunately have to be by other means because, like you say, Christian, that the project isn't even thinking about starting until the end of this decade, basically. And in fact, the first stage is stage 1, which is in this far eastern corner in any case. And all of these other stages will be, the Cocklebiddy end won't be done for 30 years after 2029.
Well, I guess that's the plan right now. Look,
So, I mean, I don't know about other, and like obviously we don't want to get into politics. There's a lot of moving parts, but at least in the European Union right now, there is a mandate. It's actually sort of even in the German constitution, there has to be decarbonization. It has to work. 2029 onwards, there's a carbon tax that will ramp up quite substantially, and that's sort of Europe-wide, at least. And it also means for products that are sold to the European Union have to abide by these rules. So there's a fair amount of like, pressure to have to do something about it. And obviously the first thing, the low-hanging fruit, electrification, like, I mean, you guys, I'm 100% behind that. But there are some industries that they're facing an uphill battle. Like, I mean, obviously fertilizers, steel, a bunch of other things that need high temperatures. That looks like there will be some product of hydrogen has to be that there's still many things up in the air. Some people are talking maybe even biogas, putting biogas and putting hydrogen on it and like taking out the carbon. I mean, there are many things going around. What will be financially feasible? I don't know. But here, with such good weather, with so much wind and solar and such a low population, especially in an area, it could work. It could work. The transport, though, it is far away from everything.
Yes. So I mean, ammonia is obviously a lot easier to transport. Hydrogen is very difficult.
Yes.
You
There's
either
a shipping port. It looks like it's all going out through the shipping port.
temperatures. Yeah, I mean, you got to send it down to, cryogenic temperatures to transport it as a liquid in any other form.
Liquids is most likely not possible.
No, not for
Yeah.
hydrogen, because
But you know what? That's actually really interesting. I'm not gonna say that's gonna work out, but there are some ideas about actually binding hydrogen to a metal, like a metal hydride, like a metal, and you get actually a much higher concentration than even in liquid form. But obviously, it's also not easy to handle. So I don't know. We'll see. We hope there is a solution. In the short term, I think trucking, anything, cars, it's gonna be all batteries. There's no question about it.
Most definitely.
Absolutely.
But you've got the mining industry going full battery now, sort of stuff.
It is the most straightforward thing to do.
Yeah, because I went to a demo for, like a dumpy, where they're converting vehicles and that sort of stuff. It's just amazing. It's like weeks to convert, like a cat dumpy, and it's just like no brainer sort of stuff. So
they're also not as weight restricted, right? And they're not like they don't have all these things that we need to work out here with the roads and this and that. It's like things are anyhow built for massive tonnage. So
exactly.
Yeah.
And you got Rio Tinto's looking at battery swap. So 7 minutes. So you're just sort of going, that's a no-brainer. And then BHP, it's like a big arm that goes out and they charge it as they're driving along. So yeah, there's solutions already. So we'll see it happening over the next couple of years. So yeah,
absolutely.
Really cool.
Now I hijacked, unfortunately, that sidetrack hijacked what Pete originally asked. So Shane, how did your trip to Tassie with a caravan? As if driving a car.
Yeah. Sorry?
As if driving a car by itself wasn't hard enough, you took a caravan.
Yeah, I did. And I drove it up the Mount Wellington as well, or Kenyani as they call it. Managed 178 watt hours per kilometre dragging the caravan up and down. I'm not sure how they worked out the numbers incorrectly at the other end, but the car was telling me 178, which I thought was pretty good. Really, what did we have? We had an issue at Kaiguna, obviously, with the charger not working, but we knew that before we got there, so that was sort of planned for, or planned around, should I say. On the way over, we made Baladonia on day one and charged off 15 amps in the caravan overnight, mainly because I have an issue paying $2 a kilowatt hour. And then, also on the way over, the second night we stopped at Eucla Caravan Park. We possibly shouldn't have stopped at Eucla. We possibly should have kept going to Border Village, which was what we did on the way back. We didn't see a sign on the counter, or it wasn't pointed out to us, should I say. It explicitly rules out charging your EV in the caravan park. It was quite late at night, and it was actually too late. We'd already paid for our site, and they hadn't told us that. And yeah, anyway, so probably
Whereabouts was
avoid.
that, Shane?
That was Eucla Caravan Park. So that's as you go up the pass, up the Eucla Pass, it's the first one on your right-hand side. About another 10 k's up the road is the Border Village, and at Border Village, they're fine, and it's actually a nicer caravan park anyway. Yeah, and Border Village also has a 32 amp socket. It's limited to 20 amps, but there's also a 3-phase socket there, which is faster. But yeah, the biggest catch is that we need to charge twice as much as everybody else, pretty much. We really do need them every 200 k's or thereabouts. So
100 k's.
Sorry?
Every 100 k's.
With drive-through.
No, I need them about 200 k's apart, or thereabouts. Actually, speaking of the drive-through thingies, there was Snowtown was voted the AEVA best charging site of Australia. When we arrived at Snowtown, Harold plugged in and he was fine. We plugged in and we couldn't charge. So that was slightly disappointing. None of the bays, yeah, a little bit. None of the bays were drive-through. It did have shade, but none of the bays were actually drive-through. They'd installed some of those yellow plastic things that stop you driving through. So that was a bit disappointing because we were quite looking forward to that. But then,
sorry, Shane, 2 seconds. And there is actually a disturbing underlying reason for it. And that is that on the Kempower pillar, there's a giant gap between the black insert and the, I think that's a metal powder coated, or no, it might not be metal. It's some other material. Is it metal?
I think it was metal, yeah.
But
the issue there is they've used the wrong glue. When it gets hot, it lets go.
Well, and the thing is that opening is far too big. And if I can get, you can actually, I tried to get my sort of phone camera to squeeze in, but that light there is an LED on the printed circuit board that controls that pillar. So this is why Shane couldn't authenticate on his pillar, whereas mine was lucky enough the gap wasn't as bad. So this is a serious problem, and it was one of the things I think that was the last place where they had those pillars, and none of us thought to look at them because they always worked. Like, for example, at Port Augusta, because you never bothered to look too closely at something that's working because it just works and you just walk away. You only ever look at something closely when it's not working and you're trying to work out what's going on. So then just in desperation, I just put some cloth tape to try and seal it up just to stop any further damage. But it's something that the RAA and maybe Kempower need to look at, because I didn't really have a proper photo, but it's not like this was sort of hanging over. So it's implying that the hole that this black thing has to slot into is too big, or it's become larger somehow, or this plastic part has somehow shrunk, which I just don't get how that can happen.
It looked to me like it had slipped down, and it slipped down and sort of curved out. Look, but
this bottom is still flush, Shane, so it doesn't really gel.
Yeah,
because
I think it's nominally supposed to sit slightly sub-flush. I did look at another one later. Now I can't remember where I saw that. There was another Kempower unit. Was it maybe Esperance?
No, Esperance doesn't have. They don't have those
That's tall things.
dispensers.
Yeah.
All of the ones in
It
WA.
was another Kempower unit that I looked at somewhere, and I'm struggling to remember where it was, and it wasn't as bad as that, but a piece of it had been glued in the same sort of way, and it had also had the same issue, but nowhere near as bad. But yeah, the AEVA, part of the reason for us going there was the AEVA Expo and conference. For those of you who don't know, AEVA made an award for best charger in Australia, which I think is an excellent idea. And they put together a bunch of criteria, which is I generally broadly agree with the criteria. And then on the way back, we were sort of looking at all these charges and looking at what the criteria was for and sort of comparing them. And I would actually say Norseman. Norseman is an excellent charging location. It's got you got a photo there for us, Harold? It's got
Yeah,
shade.
grab it in 2 seconds.
It's got shade over them. There's a drive-through, 2 drive-through chargers. It's in a remote location. It's on a major highway intersection. It has a nice little park next to it that you can sit in. There we go. That's up there. Look at that. That's me. So yeah, the shade, there's a park behind it. The building you can see sort of in the distance there is actually toilets and showers. The visitors center is the closer building. You go in there and you pay $2 or whatever it is, and you get a token to go and have a shower. There's a laundromat there. It's actually really good, and you can pull in just like that. And my caravan was still off the road. It looks like it's on the road, but it's actually not, because the roads are designed for, what do you call them? Bullock trains back in the day. It's actually a really, really nice site for where it is. And I'll put a shout out while I'm at it for the one on the northbound from Bunbury. It was BP site northbound from Bunbury. I can't remember what it was, what it's called, but it was like I wasn't aware that it was there, and there was like 6 or 7 DC chargers. One side was all reverse in for cars. One side was deliberately set up for trailers only and marked. It was a trailer only bay, marked EV charging. It didn't have the shade and so forth, but it was pretty well laid out.
I think that's the one you're talking about. It's actually about Ibis.
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking.
I think that's the southbound one, though, Harold.
The northbound ones are almost identical. If that's southbound, the northbound's the same. There you go.
No, that's the northbound. That's the pin I selected, Pete.
Right. Okay. Unless I put it in the wrong place.
Yeah, you might have. But yeah, so Shane and Sarah obviously are there with their yellow sticker because their car's defective.
Yes. We actually asked them for an extra yellow sticker from it's not a yellow sticker for defect. It's a it's a Spirit of Tasmania EV sticker. And
it's a priority parking spot. You get the front row.
Yeah,
it is actually. And just give me 2 seconds. Just talk amongst yourselves just for a moment.
And we asked for an extra EV sticker as we come over, and they were like, "Why do you want that?" I was like, "Well, stick it on the caravan, of course." Yeah,
the caravan has batteries in it too, but they didn't even think about that, did they?
No, Tasmania was fantastic. There was a couple of charges that were in awkward spots, but generally speaking, it was fine. Our biggest issue was that we kept looking at the map, going, "Oh my, there's not many charges there," and then we'd realised just how far it was, and that we didn't actually need to charge at all, and just drive straight past them.
Yep, I believe. So you go, Pete.
No, you go, Chuck.
Oh, I was just going to say, I believe there's a video going around of 3 Teslas at Cockle Creek.
There is a video kicking around of 3 Teslas at Cockle Creek. There's a few photos of, now you might have to help me with the name of it. What a younger power station.
Watamata.
Yeah, Watamata Power Station, one of the first hydro stations in Tassie. It's an excellent museum. If you're ever there, go and check it out. Watamata Power Station, they got it sorted. We pulled up and we were third in the queue of EVs. The I don't know what you call it. The guy that runs the museum there, he was very excited because it's the first time he'd had 3 EVs. First time he'd had 2 EVs and he had 3. And the Tasmanians are super, super nice. The couple that were before us in the queue had actually seen us at the expo and realised that we needed to get to the ferry on time. So they let us jump the queue and top up before we moved on. And then while we were charging, another one, like a fourth one, pulled up. One had already left, and a fourth one pulled up. So old mate that's running, the curator, that's the word, the curator of the museum, he was ecstatic.
That's awesome.
And the other nice thing about that particular site is that the charger, because there's 0 phone service in there, it's in a valley, and there's even Telstra didn't work. There was free Wi-Fi at the charger. So inside the charging cabinet was somehow a Wi-Fi terminal, and you could connect to the Wi-Fi so that you could authenticate your charge. And of course, obviously by doing that, now you can make phone calls and all sorts of stuff. It was really quite good. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, that was good. That was I don't think any of you guys were at the conference on Friday, but one of the guys talking there was the fleet guy from Hydro. And he was you would have seen the cars out the front, I guess. They've got a range of heaps of different models. And because of the nature of where they go, they need to be all-wheel drive. So there was some long-range Model Ys, there was some Subaru Solterras, there were can't think what other all-wheel drive cars there are now. But yeah, that charging station is one of the ones that when they installed chargers at all their sites, they made a couple of them open to the public, and that's one of them. So yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I'm just going to spotlight myself briefly. Do you mean that sticker? Oh, let me just.
Is yours white? Mine's yellow.
Let me just let me go like this. There we go. Yellow sticker, dangerous vehicle.
That's the one.
Anyway,
actually, we did a.
You could sign that, Harold, and put it on eBay. Someone will pay top dollar for it.
They just about might.
I'd be shocked if someone paid $1 for it, Damo.
Actually, Pete, we did have another drama. Obviously, we ended up pushing it a little bit to get to the Spirit on time. Well, not really. We got there with maybe an hour to spare, but we were starting to get concerned. And all the roads in and out of the power station are all gravel. And somehow through there, we picked up a stick in the sidewall of the tyre, which we didn't. We were driving along, and the tyre pressure warning comes up, and it's slowly dropping off. So we pulled into the next town, which is a fair way along, pumped it up, and then some. I think Sheffield. I think we pumped it up and then some, and then we took off again. By the time we got to the Spirit at Devonport, the pressure had dropped off a fair bit more, and we were like, "Oh no, what's going on here?" We just drove it onto the boat and thought, "We'll deal with this tomorrow." Well, not quite. Went around and had a look, and sure enough, there was a stick in the side. There was a slow leak. So, have you got a photo, Harold?
Didn't they, Shane?
What was that? Sorry?
Someone had an idea that as we're drinking a beer, since there was a little bit of time, why don't we just have a little look and see if we can go down there and do something about it?
Did you take a photo?
Yeah,
Have you
yeah.
got a
I'm
photo?
just
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
setting it up.
So,
I'm firing up.
so we pulled out the rapid repair thingos, the temporary repairs, and we stuck one through and it was still leaking. So we stuck a second through and it was still leaking. So we stuck a third through, and we ended up with a sextopus hanging out the side of the tire. And yeah, it's still there. Brand new tire, so I'm a bit hesitant to just rip it off, but it's still there. There's a bit of a lump in the side of the tire, and
So it could. And the worms that did.
it done.
So when you stick those things in there, I mean, I've never used one of these. When you stick those in there, do you just chop it off and then drive in it, or do you just drive anyway? How does it?
I drove anyway because I was concerned that one, it was in the sidewall, which is where you're not supposed to put them.
Yeah.
And two, I'd had to put three of them in to make it seal. And I wanted to get off the boat. So I left them hanging out like that, and then drove off the boat, and we went to the Lucas supercharger.
Yeah.
At which I re-inspected and went, well, it still seems to be holding. So I trimmed them off. I had a spare, like a full-size spare.
Yeah.
We need to return to the club at some point, but and then I just kept driving, and it hasn't leaked. It's fairly bulged, but it hasn't kept bulging, and it's a brand new tire, so I don't want to bin it.
Yeah.
So I think what I'm probably going to do is just keep driving it and see what happens.
Is it on the front or rear wheel?
Rear wheel.
Right.
I can't see it doing a rapid deflation.
Just send it, Shane.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too.
Yeah, because it's a lifetime fix. It'll work for the lifetime of that tire. So
Exactly right. And I can't see the tire. I can't see it rapid deflating. I can see it potentially starting to leak again. At which point maybe I'll stick another thingo in it and see what happens.
and don't forget those are not Z rated, but the speed rating on those tires is rather high, and the only speed those tires will ever see is 110. So the relative forces
that's right, Harold. They only ever see 110.
Of taking the only forces they'll see that they'll have to withstand is like much less than half that they were designed to withstand anyway. So
yeah,
it's not personal advice, but it'll be fine.
Yeah, well, I figured, what have I got to lose?
Especially in the straight line, Shane. If you go around corners, sidewalls work harder, but straight line.
Indeed, and it made it, and I agree, but it's done from Geelong to Bridgetown, through some pretty windy back roads through Bridgetown with a caravan on the back and a DC charger in the boot and all the rest of it, and it's made it all the way back to Perth, and it's fine. It doesn't look good, I'll give you that. It doesn't look good, but it hasn't lost a single PSI.
A little worm that could.
I'll always
think
take
so.
function over form.
Yeah,
Exactly. Exactly. I think I've got. Oh yeah, there is something. Actually, has anyone got any questions or comments before I go to some other stuff? And please say yes. Like it's totally cool if you say yes.
Hey, Pete, did you see the video I put up against the pre-fresh Fremont build Model 3 performance?
Yeah, that was a huge difference. I was quite surprised.
And that was a slow run for me too, believe it or not. I had wheel spin. I'm having an issue with wheel spin at the moment on that thing. And it's not even the wheel spin because it's, like quarter of a millisecond, 200ths. But when the traction control grabs it, that's even more, you know what I mean? So there's still a lot more in it. It's got to find the right type combo.
Yeah, no, that was really interesting.
What time did you get, Damo?
On that run that I videoed, that was 11:22, but my best time so far is 11:15. But 11:05 on the draggy off the supercharger.
So you just want to put a 10 in front. You just need a 10.
I want 1099 out of this thing, yeah, and I'll do whatever I have to do to get it, Harold. So
Oh, back seat out,
Yeah, add lightness.
the
add
back seat
lightness.
only weighs like 1.75, I think, or 2 kilos. It's really light. There's a lot more weight there to pull out. Like passenger seat is 42 kilos.
Wow, there you go. And Damo, I suggest if you have a few less schooners, you could slim down a bit, go to a sorter.
Yeah. One pedal
are in
driving, you
control
don't need
of your
two legs.
destiny.
Pick on the jockey.
Jockey's riding the horse.
The biggest thing is at the moment with getting it to go quicker is DC charging. You need to be able to heat the battery and charge at the same time to get to the light tree on 100% with a hot battery. With the AC charging, you get to 100% and then you got to wait, 10, 15 minutes to heat the battery and you get to the light tree at about 98%. These new performance ones, you need everything just to get that sudden burst at the start. It makes a huge difference. Off the supercharger, the car went 0 to 60 miles an hour in 2.83 seconds. And then without that, you're looking at about 3.1 seconds. So it makes a huge difference.
Yeah,
Damo, you need a tow ball. You need to put a tow kit on it and borrow Harold's caravan. So you can tow it up to the line, plug in, disconnect before you take off though.
Damo, you've got sexy buttons, haven't you? So you can do the preheat with the sexy buttons.
You still can't do that on AC, Shane. Like, doesn't make a difference.
Yeah, you certainly can, because that's what I did before I did my Kunyani challenge thing. I sat there and it's got a tendency to turn itself off. But you
Got
can
the buttons, but I haven't fitted them yet. Like I'll only fit them when I need them, Shane.
Okay, yeah. Well, you don't need to fit the buttons as such. Fit the commander, the control module, and then from the app you can set up a what do they call it? An action in the app, and you can heat the battery because in Tassie it's obviously very cold.
On an AC or a DC.
There we go.
You see on the bottom right hand corner, it's got 61C and there's a little battery precondition. That's actually old data. It's not actually hooked up to my car at the moment. But that's the sexy button. So you can actually press that button there, and that will then
I had the stage one. I had the buttons on my first M3P.
Yeah, and that will work.
Buttons, but you can't have that battery pack heating while it's on AC charge. DC you can.
I think you can.
I think you got to keep pressing it on, and you got to it'll sort of turn itself off because I think you're right, Damo. It'll sort of say I don't normally do that, but you just got to be sort of persistent, and you'll get like a bit of a fractional duty cycle.
Yeah, if you're in the car, what you can do is sit in the car, press that button, and provided you're in the car and it's in either drive or you're sitting on the driver's seat.
Are you talking about navigate to a supercharger, Shane, or battery heat while you're charging?
No, I'm talking about the battery heat from using that sexy buttons thing. If you're sitting in the car, you turn on the battery heat. If you get out, it'll turn off, but stay sitting in the seat and it'll keep heating up. And it just keeps heating and keeps heating and keeps heating.
So that lightning bulb will go red when it's
I understand that, Shane. I understand that. But if you plug into an AC, that'll turn off and it won't let you. DC, it'll stay it'll get to the optimum heat, but AC, it turns off. Everything I've done anyway.
Okay. I would be thinking that you could, because I could take it hotter than optimum. Do you know what optimum was?
On my old car, it was like 54 degrees Celsius.
Yeah.
So I haven't plugged them into the new one yet because I've only just I haven't really been serious about it. But soon I probably will. I
managed to take it up higher. I managed to take it up higher and then went and plugged into and that took it, like you say, down to like 98 or something thereabouts. and then I plugged it into AC. The battery was obviously still warm because it took quite a while to get there. And then I stuck it on 11 kilowatts and it was full again in no time. So I then had a full pack and a warm battery before I went up the mountain. I was looking for efficiency rather than speed, but yeah.
Just if you haven't got a DC charger yet, Damo, just use one of the ones that I've got and give it a go.
Yeah, cheers, Harold. I'll take you up on that. I've been looking at them, but it sort of hasn't been
Yeah,
enough.
no, you can
priority,
just.
but
I got two, and I only need one at a time. And
I did one.
Shane's returning one, so yeah.
yeah, I've been waiting for the weather to get a bit hotter. I'll probably start going racing again soon. I was going to go tonight actually, but pulled out. So a few little tweaks on the car. I reckon it. Don't know if there's a 10-second pass there, but it's going to be fast.
Very good. Very well. If you can just, like you said, if you can get a 1099, that's job done for the time being. Should be awesome. Alrighty. Has anyone else got any questions or comments?
Just a final thing for any of you rocket fans out there. Tuesday morning, 6 a.m, flight 6, weather permitting.
Is that Tuesday morning our time, Mike?
Yep, WA time, 4 p.m. Central Time.
Yep, cool.
Excellent.
This will be the last test flight of the current Starship. They're going to a new version.
Ship, yes. Booster, no.
Yes.
Colin's got a question.
Yes, Colin.
Evening, everyone. I just wanted to ask apologies if this has already been handled in the news because I was late. The vehicle to everything standard that was announced over the weekend. Does anyone have any information about where Tesla's at with V2 beyond what they said in 2023, which was it could come in 2025?
It's available now in Cybertrucks, which are not available in Australia.
Yeah. So what about existing? I guess I'm interested in existing ones and whether there's any likelihood it might.
Take that back. It's technically possible that it can be done via the DC pathway. In other words, the CCS pathway. And knowing what I know, it is frustratingly so simple and so inexpensive to do. It's just depressing that it won't be done so. For anyone that might have, say, a hybrid inverter that's got a 400-volt battery pack. So, for example, if you've got a Fronius hybrid inverter and a BYD HVM battery stack or similar, the LG Chem Resu packs, they're all in the order of 400-volt packs. Any of those standard solar hybrid inverters have everything they really need except for the minor communications module that does the CCS talking across your CCS plug. Everything else that's required to do full integration of vehicle to grid already exists. So if you were, if I was a young engineer, I'd just whip out a controller and basically make my car simulate the characteristics of a BYD HVM battery stack. I could hook it up hot to my Fronius inverter, and it would then go, oh, now I'm talking to a rather large capacity battery, and I can chuck as much energy into it as I like, and I can pull as much energy from it as I like, bearing in mind that those inverters can only pull or push 9 kilowatts. So there's no technical impediment actually, but what's been announced is that the Australian Standards Body has standardized or has formulated a standard. The issue now is under the regulations for any inverter or any system that is offered for sale. Currently, the car and that system have to be tested as one unit because it's sort of presumed to be one thing. So that means every car manufacturer and every inverter company that provides this, they currently have to test every version of car to confirm that that system is safe and compliant. And the car manufacturers, it seems, aren't particularly enamored in bothering to do that. The only module that you could buy was for a Nissan Leaf and a something Outlander, Mitsubishi Outlander, under the CHAdeMO standard. That charge interface or grid interface costs $10,000 and apparently is now no longer available for sale in Australia. So as we speak today, there are no charger modules, no interface modules, and therefore it doesn't exist yet in Australia. But it's coming. And
Yeah.
Tesla in Cybertrucks, they do have it on the AC side for Cybertruck, and they've got you just use a standard high power wall connector, or sorry, a Tesla wall connector, and basically a gateway, which I think is pretty similar to the standard Powerwall gateway, quite similar, if not identical, and then you can do it. None of Tesla's existing cars in Australia can do vehicle to load or vehicle to house or whatever via the AC side because the onboard chargers lack the transistors on the rectifier side. So they're just diodes and not transistors, and you need transistors on that side to push the power out rather than just pulling it inwards.
Okay,
But,
so
yeah.
so you're saying you reckon it's for existing Teslas to become capable, it'll need more than just a bidirectional charger and a software update?
Well, it would need a software update
Mhm.
because I'm pretty confident if you made yourself a fast DC charger that rather than and look, that's just not hard when you read the standard. And I think you can actually buy sub-assemblies that effectively implement the HomeLink PHY power line modem comms that goes on the control pilot pin. You can get that almost off the shelf, or you can make your own or whatever, make up the circuit. I think if you told the car, hey, you're connected to a fast DC charger, and the car and your Tesla goes, yeah, okay, give me X kilowatts or whatever it is, current limit. If you start drawing current rather than providing it, the car will probably have a sook and disconnect. And probably rightly so, because it doesn't want to be discharged by a fast DC charger. So you're right, it would need a software update to the car, so the car continues to keep its contactors closed, so connected to the interface to allow energy to go in, which it does anyway, and now out. And then, like I said, the actual circuitry that's needed to do the power conversion is already existing in 400 volt class hybrid inverters. And the thing is, all you need to certify is a proper safe connection between the car, which is the battery, and the inverter. On the main side, all of that standardization is already, those inverters already comply with everything. So that therein lies the frustration. But look, hopefully in the fullness of time, some of the inverter manufacturers may say, well, we can provide you with a CCS interface, and look, they'll probably charge you, too much, a couple of $1,000s for it, which effectively is just a battery lead with a CCS. Well, it's a CCS cable that you plug in, and you connect it as an accessory to like a Fronius or a GrowWatt or a whatever hybrid inverter, and it'll just work, but not yet.
Yeah, so you think there's a reasonable likelihood that within a year or two, or however long it takes, that there'll be a solution for existing Teslas to do it?
That would be up to Tesla to agree to it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, and you know, Tesla may or may not at its absolute discretion. And there's nothing that anyone could do to make them do it because that feature was never sold with the car.
Well, it was interesting, like you probably would have seen the only kind of communication that Tesla sort of said about it was back in 2023. And I think Drew Baglino was he asked about it, and he was sort of saying, we could do it, we just haven't, and not because we deliberately decided we wouldn't do it. It just wasn't a priority, so we just haven't worked on it. But
Yeah,
he sort of
he actually said that, well, the Roadster, the original Roadster had it and no one used it and was interested in it. But Tesla's tune has changed. So their most recent newest model, which is the Cybertruck, absolutely has it.
yeah.
And there's nothing notionally stopping any other subsequent models from having the same or similar feature. So that's not to say that the upcoming Juniper Model Y is going to have it, because that's all but certain, or almost certain, or highly likely just to have the same characteristics as the Model 3 Highland. Probably, because the penthouse and all that sort of stuff, the battery pack, that's all shared in common with the Model 3. So it would be, look, it's not impossible that they might add that, but there's an extra cost element to it. And, Tesla has been spruiking that, well, next year they are talking about releasing lower priced models. And they've been vague, but also specific to say that lower price model would not be a variant of the Robotaxi. That they would not be producing a Robotaxi with steering wheel and pedals as a lower price car. So unless they're going to bring out a model, two-thirds of a Y, or a model two-thirds for a modified 3, maybe they're just going to bring out cheaper versions of the Model Y next year, and maybe a bit later on the Model 3. And call it the more reasonably priced car.
I would suggest that what's actually most likely to happen is, as Harold's saying, a new model comes out, but as a result of competition from the Chinese, because a lot of the Chinese cars currently do vehicle to load. It's not very much. They only put out 10 amps or less, but they already do it. So the fact that a lot of the Chinese cars do vehicle to load versus vehicle to grid is not a big step. So I would think that Tesla are going to be essentially forced into it if they want to maintain market.
And speaking of competition, this is courtesy of the Driven. These are the latest monthly and year-to-date figures of car sales, EV car sales. And you can see year-to-date, obviously the Model Y is smashing it, and the Model 3, and then you've got the BYD Seal. But if you have a little look at the number 4 contender, which is the MG4, they outsold, well, everything in October.
Yeah, and you see a lot of them on the road. Even across the Nullarbor, I saw a lot of those.
Yeah, indeed. And, by the end of next year, they will be Australia's the best-selling EV, without doubt.
They're like 30 grand or something, are they?
That's right. And in Western Australia, they are less because of the $3,500 rebate. So I think it's roughly $28,000 for a car that has a 10-year, 250,000 kilometer total warranty.
Is that the MG or the BYD?
The MG4.
Okay.
It's for anyone that wants I'm not sure the
buzz box.
range is, but wants a car.
They're similar to my Model 3.
Oh, well, there you go. So, sure, go and buy a Tesla as your main, grand tourer. But for the runaround car or the second car or or whatever, it's a no-brainer, and you will save in those 250,000 kilometers. Your energy saving or petrol saving will basically match the value of the car, just in fuel savings.
Approximately how much are they?
$28,000 in WA.
Okay, because my daughter needs a second car.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, they're not luxury vehicles. They're a bit austere and, they're a bit plasticky and, whatever. They're not expensive cars. So, they don't look as nice as other, well, they're not premium cars. But as a general, if you use a car to get from A to B, it does that perfectly well and very cheaply. And I was going to say very reliably, it kind of doesn't matter, because if there's a 10-year, 250,000 kilometer warranty, you kind of don't care what goes wrong with it as long as it's fixed promptly.
Wow.
And that car,
From a
novated lease for, and the payments on that are roughly about $100 a week. The average Australian spends roughly about $100 a week on fuel. So you can take that $100 that you spend on fuel, and rather than paying off the loan of the petrol station owner, you can be paying off your own car. It's a bit like, you could be paying off your own mortgage, or you could be paying rent and paying someone else's mortgage. So whether you get a MG4 or whether you get a second-hand Model 3 for roughly around the same price, the economics are just becoming an absolute no-brainer now.
And it's fully electric.
Yep.
Okay.
So does anyone have a good idea what led to that? That sales increase in October was massive. It was like a 3 or 4 times increase from the previous months on the MG4. That's a big change. Are they doing a special deal or something at the moment?
I'm pretty sure it's just the boat arrived.
There was a publicised large price drop a month and a half, maybe 2 months ago. It hit all the news saying this is the cheapest or something like that, if my memory serves correctly, guys.
Yep.
And so
but you can see there,
that probably took a month to wind up, and then off they went.
I can see those cars becoming the new Hyundai Getz, Holden Astra, the first car for your kids in the next 3 or 4 years.
Yep,
yeah, it's just amazing. When you look like, it's 300, 300, 300, 300, 1,500.
Yeah, and disappointingly, if you see the Model 3 and the Model Y sales at the start of the year, March was a huge month. I mean, I know it's lumpy, but that was a big quarter. And sadly, national sales have been dropping off, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, that Model 3 in October is really low, isn't it?
Yep.
I mean, the Y, you've got to imagine, like, Juniper's right around the corner. That's surely got to be having a pretty big impact on that now.
Yes, I mean, and everyone, it's no denying that Juniper will be here in Q1, basically.
Yeah.
It's not even speculation anymore. It's just obvious. It's screamingly obvious. Tesla has novated lease. They've got a 3,000. Is it, Pete? Is it $3,000? I think it's a $3,000 rebate on a novated lease. They've got 2.99% interest rates on car loans for any 3s and Ys that are taken delivery of before the end of this calendar year. And that's
the novated lease. The novated lease, you got to take delivery before the 20th of December to get the free grant.
Cool. They're probably hedging that against there being issues over Christmas or deliveries or something, I presume, with paperwork and all that stuff. But it's a clear, and we're not in a gross recession or anything like that. It's a clearer signal yet that literally the shiny new Model Y. And in fact, they will have to open their order book before deliveries, obviously. So as soon as the order page changes to the new Juniper Model Y, there'll, quite a few people buying cars just then will find it difficult to resist cancelling the order. So hence Tesla is sweetening it and making sure they've got no overhang. So, you'll find that they won't have surplus inventory like they have been for a while. They'll try and dry up all the old models so that they don't have to discount them too greatly to quit them. But yeah, can't wait for the Juniper. Really, really can't wait. Might
Just
even
going
come and
back
see
to
you, Chuck.
with what Shane was saying, yeah, that was definitely part of my thinking with the whole vehicle to load, vehicle to grid, and all that, because so many of their competition offers it. I struggle to see how they could not do it just by virtue of competition. Because if you've got one car that offers vehicle to grid and all the Teslas that don't, a lot of people are going to go, "Well, I'll have that, thanks."
Yeah, indeed. But there's no one knows whether it's in the Juniper or not.
Yeah.
Like I said, I mean, look, it probably wouldn't cost a lot. I mean, one of the frustrating complications is the Cybertruck, for example, its power modules are designed for single phase operation. So you can have a lot of power going through the one phase. In Australia, we have three phase, well, a blend of three and single phase. So it's, I don't know, you just don't know what they're going to offer in that market. Tesla has never offered external power to a non-American market yet. And all of the other providers, all of the Chinese manufacturers, I think there's not a single one of those that provides power vehicle to load that's three phase, for example. So
No, they're all single phase, and I think the biggest one is 15 amp single phase. So it's not much, it's something.
Yeah, absolutely. All righty. Any other questions or comments?
I might disappear given it's midnight here.
Oh, yes. Yeah, thanks,
Right.
Chuck, for joining us. And once again, congratulations on an awesome EVA conference. And it was fantastic. It was great to see a few Sandgropers turn up, and everyone really enjoyed it. And I know that you yourself and many other committee members of EVA, Taz, put a lot of work and effort into it, and it was a fantastic outcome, which is you should all be heartily congratulated.
Oh, well, I'm glad you enjoyed the visit, and glad you made the trip. And we had a good representation of TOCWA there as well. So that's good to see.
I still can't get that bloody sticker off my charge flap though.
Let me know when you figure it off, because I haven't tried yet.
I might just leave it there and I don't know until the next one.
I think I saw on who did a video? I think it might have been Stan with his Polestar. I think he did a video recently, and I think he still had the sticker on it when he went across on the Spirit. So maybe it's still there now. Who knows?
Yes, it's just part of its heritage.
That's it. Yeah,
It's like a temporary tattoo, but not so temporary.
Just wait for it to wear off naturally.
Exactly. That's right. Excellent. All right, Chuck. Well, thanks for joining us, and once again, thanks for everything you've done, and we look forward to seeing you again.
Yep. No worries. We'll be back next week. Maybe.
No worries.
Just before you disappear, Chuck, I'd like to second that motion. You guys did a fantastic job, and you made us feel very, very welcome. It was great. Thank you.
It was great to have you there. It was good. You guys were a great draw for the expo yourself as well. So very cool.
Excellent. All righty.
Thank you.
Take care. All right. Anyone got any other questions or comments? Or I might have to draw on James's Dorothy Dix's.
Well, but I complain about your ranking of the charge points. I think you do it all wrong. I mean, there's much better criteria to pick on charge points. Things like Merredin's a great charge point. The bakery opens at 6 o'clock. So if you leave Perth at 4 o'clock, you get fresh cream buns there.
Yes, that is true.
Yeah.
No, these are good criteria, and they are actually part of the AEVA criteria. Was the access to things like food and the like.
Because we stopped at Snowtown on the way back. We came out of the Barossa, pulled into Snowtown, and it was closed. We couldn't use the toilet.
Oh,
Yep,
It's not 24 hours.
Similar thing happened, unfortunately, at Woodner in South Australia,
Yep.
which has an excellent bakery.
Four times I've been there, and I finally one time got to eat at the bakery, because every other time it's been a Sunday or it's been too early or too late.
Yeah.
So these are the things. The Woodner, great bakery. Keith, funny
And
name.
I'm gonna
Two
throw in
bakeries.
another.
Yep.
I'm going to throw in another vote for Norseman, because it's not a very long walk down the road, and it's a pretty
350
good
meters.
just down
We
the road
Google-
from Norseman.
Yeah,
Yep.
we Google mapped it because I made my wife walk back while I was on charge.
But yes, so yeah, Norseman was excellent.
Yeah.
It really
A
did.
shady little shady tree.
Yep.
A nice little picnic thing to sit on, showers and toilet sort of thing.
And a laundry.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
food.
Yep.
Did anyone else? So, who's been? If you drive up to the Norseman Charger, you go on the street that it's on. So you turn off you're not on the main highway. You're on that secondary street.
Yep,
Did anyone
yep.
notice the house about 300 meters down that has like 43 cats sitting on the front verge?
Yeah, they also have about 12 kids, and
All right.
all of them live at the Tesla as they drive past.
Yeah. So you drive, we slow down to look at these cats, and suddenly then all these kids run out and the cats scatter. But it's like, yeah.
That's the one. Yep.
Yeah.
Right. Interesting.
And Kimber does
Actually-
a good curry. Excellent curry at Kimber.
I haven't
Yeah,
actually
we-
tried it.
We missed it because we were well after hours.
All right.
And then frustratingly, the Jet charge mate, the AC charger wasn't working. And for a moment we kind of fretted. I mean, it was late because we really had to push hard to get to Kimber, towing caravans, because in our ordinary cars it would have been so easy, but towing caravans, everything takes twice as long, really.
And then there were quite a few kangaroos on that stretch of road too.
Oh,
Between
yeah.
Port Augusta and Kimber. It was Roo Central.
There were a ton. Oh man. They're the ones you saw, which are bad enough, and then the ones you didn't see, which weren't so bad as long as you didn't suddenly see them at the last moment. But oof.
Actually, one of the things that we've noticed with the EV is that all the wildlife, roos, birds, the whole
Birds
lot,
are the worst. They don't see you coming.
but they don't hear you. They don't.
Yeah,
they don't
yeah.
startle. They don't do the thing. I've got a couple of really good videos where I've pressed the record button that I need to download. There's one with a wedge-tailed eagle that's carrying away a rabbit in front of me, and then there's another one on the way into Bridgetown just last weekend where we literally pulled up to a kangaroo, and the kangaroo just sat there in the middle of the road and looked at me, looked at my headlights, and gone, "What do you want about?" And just literally sat there. I just waited for him to get off the road. I had plenty of time to stop and all the rest of it, but he just sat there. Didn't even think about it.
We've got two hands up.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Colin, you're first, and then Christian.
Yeah, just quickly, it's just something I just remembered I was going to ask. I was a bit surprised. So I know you need premium connectivity to stream music and movies in your car. I was a bit surprised the other day. I downloaded an album in the Tidal app. So it's like you download it, so you got it offline. You still need premium connectivity to play downloaded music.
Yes.
Odd.
You also need premium connectivity to use TuneIn. And
Audible.
yeah, and I think you can't even just tether to your phone. It just stops that functionality. So that happened to me in the UK where I did a software update. I had a hire car that didn't have premium connectivity and no way to ask for it. And I was using, I think it was TuneIn, and did a software update, and then it stopped working. And I even tried to tether to my phone, and because I had a eSIM, and no, it just wouldn't work.
It's
Which is
still
a
just
bit
like, yeah.
disappointing.
I just thought it was really odd because, yeah, like obviously the point of downloading an album is so you can listen to it whenever. And then the weird thing is, if you're at home, you can play the first song, and because you're on your Wi-Fi, it will play the first song. But then you get 5 minutes down the road, and that song finishes, and it goes to the next one, and it just says can't play it anymore. And you're like, hang on, what's going on?
Well, did you try the tether? So if you're saying it works on Wi-Fi, then just tether off your phone.
Yeah, I might try that. I mean, normally I just Bluetooth off my phone anyway and play it that way, and it kind of does the same job. But it was just,
Yep.
yeah, I was doing it out of just testing out of curiosity. And yeah, it was like, oh, it works. And then the second time I was like, oh, now it doesn't work. So what's going on?
Yeah, indeed. Alrighty. Christian, you got your hand up.
Yeah, I have actually two questions because I mean, Harold and also others, you guys have been pushing, and Shane, the limits of how far you can go, especially with having something. I remember, like, I think 1 or 2 weeks ago, you detailed your nightmarish trip where you were relying on a charger. You asked if it was working. You were assured
I asked Horizon Power and another company,
precisely, and
and
they said,
people reassured me it was absolutely
yeah.
online and therefore working.
Good. So basically, what I'm sort of trying to get at is like for mere mortals like ourselves, I'm gonna go to Esperance again over Christmas, and now that Ravensthorpe has the fast charger, but a couple weeks ago, actually, my boss, who has a Model Y Performance, he got stuck there because guess what? It wasn't working. And it was not on PlugShare, was nothing there. But luckily, the 11 kilowatt backup was working. 11, yeah. So obviously, this is a pretty critical point because we would come either from Lake Grace or from Jerramunga, and so this is quite the drive for us because we remember we have bike on top of it, roof box, and I'm gonna also have this time bikes at the back on the hitch. So my consumption will be not quite caravan, but very close to caravan levels.
Yep.
So
So this is
my question is,
Yep.
when you drop the speed, we're talking about usually 10 kilometers an hour, about 10%. Like, at what point sort of do you see this level of like, let's say you go even down to, if you're really in the pickle, have to go down to 60, 70, like what is sort of your lower limit of where you see any like what is your lower limit where you're like, if you can't make it on that, you're done for?
Okay, so
That's a very good question. Well done.
that is a
Excellent
very
question.
good question, and the correct answer is we don't know. But I've taken my car
Oh,
down to
bollocks.
I've taken my car down to 70 k's an hour with the caravan.
Yeah.
I've also driven my Model X at 60 k's an hour on the way in 2018 between Tennant Creek and Camberwell. Did 60 k's an hour for the first 50 k's, 65 for the next 50 k's, and 70 k's an hour for the next 371 k's.
Mm.
So 60 is certainly in the ballpark.
Yeah.
If you had extreme conditions, the aircon, there would have to be a point at which the aircon would have a meaningful difference because you're just on the road for so long, and
Right.
you've got like a baseline of expended energy,
Yeah,
of expended power, sorry, and energy per hour.
perfect. Yeah.
You're on the road for more hours, so therefore you are going to, rather than using 3 kilowatt hours of your battery pack for air conditioning, you'd
It would be
inevitably
6
use
because
4
you're
or
twice as
5.
long on it. Yeah.
Yeah, but in general terms, if you dropped your speed by say 40 k's an hour, that's a massive increase in range.
Yeah.
And you know, basically, in fact, I can tell you what the difference is in range. Say rather than doing 110, you
Yeah,
did
70.
say, well, let's call it 70. So you get 110 divided by 70, raise it to the power of 1.2. That is 53% more range.
Okay.
Rather than 300 kilometers of range, you're going to get 450.
Right.
So if we look at PlugShare, you can see that you're going from Esperance to Perth or Perth to Esperance.
That's right.
And obviously, look, I would regard Lake Grace as dodgy because it's a tritium RT.
And what you need to know is like, because we have the kids, we have to split this up. So for my mental sake, I'm the complete opposite of what you can do per day.
Yes. No, but what I'm saying is Lake Grace I would take as dubious.
But there are 2 destination chargers plus
yes. Yep.
a 5-pin.
Okay. Well, in that case, you go Williams,
Yeah.
you go Lake Grace,
Yeah.
you go Ravensthorpe,
Yeah.
you go Esperance.
It's basically Lake Grace to Esperance, where like I have to go through Ravensthorpe, and Ravensthorpe is sort of, because as you said, like it's the last stop, and it's basically sometimes on this whatever like diesel generator. If something goes wrong, they will turn this off.
Yes, that's correct. But that's a black swan event. For example, if you're in a town and you need to get petrol and there was a power outage, petrol pump doesn't work either. So that's really a black swan event. You should, whereas a tritium RT unit not working is literally like the status quo. Like it's almost like, wow, this one works today.
Right.
Sadly.
Yeah.
That's a little bit harsh, but he's right, but it's a little bit harsh.
I've got the PTSD to prove it, Shane.
Yeah.
I've been through so many RTs, and you get to an RT, if someone's just used it recently and you hear the fan going full bore, you are not getting charged today, because that means that the circulating pump has failed and the unit cannot cool itself down, but it'll run the fan all day to try. If you can get to an RT and the little light that says, sorry, Damo, I just got to mute you for a sec because we're getting a bit of background noise there. It'll say reholster because the little micro switch worth 50 cents is broken.
Yeah, right.
But to change it, because you'll get like it's a bit harsh to say, but it's a stupid comment, which it actually is. It's quite stupid. You'll get a smart aleck comment on ChargeFox saying, "Oh, we are aware that one of the plugs hasn't been properly holstered. Please ensure it's properly holstered before using," which is rubbish.
Yeah, because it doesn't sense it anymore. No, you're right. I mean, look, you've seen it much more than I have. But I remember even the RT at the UWA was also out of commission for, I want to say, more than half a year, because also of missing parts and stuff. So similar problems.
And Christian, don't forget, that's actually the second one that's been installed there, because the original one failed and Tritium at the time agreed to replace it for free, because the one that was installed at UWA was literally one of the very first they ever made.
Right.
So we're already talking about the second
one.
It's
just sad.
It is sad.
Yeah.
But you're right. The Lake Grace path the Lake Grace path path is good, because at worst you'll just have to spend a couple of hours on AC. And
Look,
there's
we overnight there anyways. We booked the motel. We
oh
have
okay.
it all sorted out.
Okay.
So this
If you
has we've
if you're
done that
overnighting
last
it late,
year. That worked well, and this time we're gonna break it up. We're gonna do one time Lake Race and one time Jaramunga. So we have both options: the fast or the slow over. Like we're gonna stay there too. So slow with the Tesla destination charger at the caravan park. It just is much for us. It's just much easier to travel with the kids. It just takes a lot of, drama out of the day.
as a Jaramungup native, I would recommend against staying in Jaramungup, but
Oh,
I'm
really?
biased. I'm biased. I grew up there.
Okay, Shane. All right. So you would rather
No,
go hiking?
Jaramungup's different. If you check out the museum, if you got the opportunity, check out the museum.
Come on,
If I
Shane,
was going,
in a caravan park, it's fine.
yeah, if I was going to do a quick trip and I wanted to make sure I made it, I would actually go Williams, Kojonup, Jaramungup, Ravensthorpe,
Yeah.
Esperance.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Because of what Harold's saying about Lake Grace.
Yeah.
And with regards to the loss in your range by having push bikes on and cargo pods and the like, one thing that you will really, really notice is the headwinds. They will make a massive difference.
Yeah.
This most recent trip, when we were traveling across the Nullarbor from, well, whether you call it Nullarbor or not, whatever, the South Australian side, we drove into some massive headwinds, like 30, 40 kilometre an hour headwinds. And they completely changed the equation as to how fast you can go.
Yeah.
Before it makes a difference. If you're in still air, then the break-even point is probably around the 70 kilometres an hour mark, give or take. Like if you do 50 or 60 or 70, you're not really going to notice. It's pretty hard to tell. But if you're driving into a headwind, then you're just stuffed basically.
I had it not as bad as you had it, but last time when we went from Ravensthorpe to Esperance, that's exactly what happened. So basically, I was still on the 22 kilowatt. There was also, I think, a tritium at that point. It was still in Ravensthorpe. Again, like last year, there was the EV network. The fast one was not available yet. It was a huge line. People were queuing. So I got in like whatever I could get and also being respectful of others. But then the wind picked up and I did what you guys always, preach is like just take the speed down. And I did it. And then like once I was quite confident with it, I basically rolled in with 2% into Esperance. But I was confident. I didn't have any anxiety or whatever because I knew this would be all right. And I could have dropped it even further, So yeah, this is good. I have one more question, but there's so many hands up there. I can ask that later.
2 seconds. Yeah, okay. So, and James and Steve, so you're talking about wind. This is what Shane and I had to put up with a week and a half ago.
Holy smokes.
That was straight into it. That was straight into our face.
Look at the clouds. Look at the clouds moving. Like that was like more than 30 k's an hour. That was probably 35 k's an hour, and you can just see the clouds.
I'm going to put a little bit of a plug in here. But yeah, a little bit of a plug. No professional advice or whatever. There's a website called Willy Weather. If you look it up on Willy Weather, you can select what the wind forecast is going to be.
Okay.
And in that area, that Esperance area, basically everywhere from give or take Ravensthorpe all the way through to the other side of Eucla. In the morning, it will be nice, generally speaking, at this time of year. In the morning, it'll be nice and calm and and it's cool and you'll get really good efficiency. By about lunchtime or mid-afternoon, the wind will really, really pick up. And even a side wind, like even if it's a side wind on your car, especially towing, I imagine it's probably true with bicycles on it as well. It'll completely trash your range.
100%. I can tell you that this is just my last comment because it might be also interesting. So with one push bike on top and 3 push bikes at the back, I what usually would be sort of 160-ish because I have the 19-inch, I don't have the aero wheels and stuff like this. So 160-ish watt hours per kilometer on like around 100, 110. I'm 220-ish. Yeah. So like
That's almost the same as towing. It's not quite, but it's close.
Yeah.
All right, James, you got your hand up, and then I'll go Steve.
No, I've just put 2 pictures in because we were thinking about Christian. Into a better route planner, I've got my normal car, but I've also set up another car for the towing with the average. And so the better route planner does give you a little bit of a
Right.
So that's when I change the car to Percy, that's an name of our caravan, it gives me this route to go to Esperance.
Yeah, so is that Williams coaching up Jerramunga?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Told you.
As opposed to if I just put it in with a normal car, with a normal standard range that it does from Model Y, it gives me that route.
Yeah, so that's the route that we also chose and worked well for us. The one north, I think that's actually quite a bit longer, if I'm not mistaken.
Is it longer if you charge it? It's actually shorter in time because of charging time.
Is that so?
And the distance, this is almost a square, not quite.
Yep.
And in fact, this is rounded, so that's actually got less distance than this route. So it's the Hayden, the Brookton Hayden is actually a very viable one.
Yeah, I looked at that also. Yeah. Yeah, but because we're gonna stay overnight, it's not a big deal.
No,
But it's like basically every route sort of other than the most northern one converges through Ravensthorpe. And that is basically sort of a bit of there's a very popular one. Often, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, but I reckon then set yourself up a new car in a better route planner with your worst case, and it gives you it shows you a bit of a different idea.
Thank you. That's a good idea.
Steve,
you're muted.
Are you going to do an advert for the AGM now that we're running out of time?
Yeah, just at the end when everyone on YouTube land has switched off many minutes ago. Yes, thanks, Steve. Indeed, we have our AGM this Saturday, starting from approximately 11 a.m. at the Greenwood Hotel. So everyone is welcome to come and join us. Yeah, absolutely. So that's 11 o'clock at the Greenwood Hotel Saturday. And everyone should have received an email a week and a half ago or so with all the details.
Harold, the agenda says 11:30.
Oh, okay.
When you sent out.
Right.
Just if you want to clarify for YouTube land.
Yeah, that's interesting. What did the email say? Let's have a quick squiz. The email said,
Hey, Harold, you might be running out of time in a minute.
yeah, I think, yeah, thanks, Pete. I think, sorry. I think Twitter is more forgiving now, or X is more forgiving of going over the 2-hour limit. Sent items all. Oh yeah, AGM. Here we go. Oh no, 11:30. Sorry, 11:30. Yeah, obviously I was thinking that people would be turning up by 11 because that's when they open. Yeah, 11:30. Thanks, Steve. So, and it's the Greenwood Hotel at 349 Warwick Road, Greenwood. So yes, it's
Is there parking for caravans?
Right through.
I'm so done with caravans. I
Can
don't
imagine.
I don't know, and I just don't care. But yes, please do turn up. It's an uncontroversial AGM, so we don't have to vote on anything. So it's mainly really a casual. It's an AGM followed by what's much more important, which is a casual meetup and lunch. So please do turn up. But like I said, apologies. I actually intended to say that at the very start, but things got away.
As did I. Completely forgot as
Oh no, it's just anyway, things to do. But we're also going to have some good news, a good announcement at the AGM as well, which will be great. But we're going to keep that close to our chests.
You'll have to go to the AGM, folks. To
Yes,
find
you have
out.
to go to find out. We'll also no doubt tweet it out. But yes, so that's something that no one outside of the committee knows about. So it's a feel good announcement. Alrighty. Any
Are we
last?
getting some freebies from Tesla?
No.
We should get a few things. He hasn't been very generous.
Well, we're getting a $3,000 novated lease handout. We're getting a 2.99% interest rate handout for December. We're getting a new version of a car. We're getting a stock price boost. Getting plenty of freebies, Carmen.
No, we need functions like
Oh, there's a new one.
Spotify and
We need a Monolith Plaid.
Audible and stuff.
Some
No, well,
superchargers.
we're getting plenty of new features in the software update. One of them,
The Christmas one. Yeah.
yeah, well, even before Christmas, a new safety feature. So if you go and open the door and you press the button and the door doesn't open and instead you get a audible alert, it's because the camera's picked up a cyclist or another car, which is which should be quite handy if it works well.
And what we did get too is a $150 Tesla share price rise, which was handy.
Well, that's good.
And at the moment at the pre-market, the pre-open, it's up slightly from yesterday's down, so it's up slightly to $338 per share.
It's up to $10.
Which, if you contrast that with the share price in June, that was closer to $160 or $70 a share. So they've certainly bounced back a fair bit. But we won't go into the analysis of why.
Could be anything.
Because
what
that's
comes up
political.
must go down.
And we're an apolitical show. But anyway,
As long as we're gonna get the Cybertruck, everything else is.
as long as we get the Cybertruck, Elon, I don't care. Just get us the Cybertruck, please.
As long as
Alrighty.
the share price keeps heading like it's going, keep going.
Yeah, well, look, we'll just grey import
Who
one.
cares about the
and
Cybertruck?
we'll just make our own private roads and just drive it around on our own acreage.
That's
We
right.
won't-
Harold.
We'll be like the lithium miners. Which maybe next week I'll dig up the video that was on our Facebook page that showed the Cybertruck at that Kathleen Valley mine. Shane, last thing.
Offering acreage for anyone who grey imports a Cybertruck.
I don't know that your acreage is up to it.
I think it could be. I think it could be.
Would you like some ploughing done? Because I reckon we could.
It wouldn't be the first time. It wouldn't be the first time. I have a tree and a windmill, and it's been known to do figure eights around the two.
Oh, dearie me. Alrighty. On that note, Pete, how would you take out an awesome show like this as if we didn't already know?
As always, stay safe, stay sustainable, keep the share price sustainable, and stay ahead of the curve.
And the best way to do that is buy a Tesla and some more shares. Join Tokwa. That's not personal advice, but the shares is. And ask us anything about accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy. Hope to see you all at the AGM, which will be awesome. And obviously really look forward to seeing you on next week's episode of Ask Us Anything. Good night, everyone.
Good night. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.